beginnings for a lot of athletes and their aspirations to play big-time college football, Tony, and a lot of camps, a lot of recruiting visits, official visits. So what are you keeping your eye on? Who's catching your eye?
Yeah, Ohio State had their first one-day camp yesterday, and I think for me the big news that came out of it was a quarterback offer to Austin Novosad, a Texas quarterback currently committed to Baylor, the number 17 quarterback in the nation per the 24/7 composite. And Ohio State looking for that 2023 quarterback. They want to take one every year. It doesn't matter that they've got a 5-star Devin Brown entering this year and they've got the 2024 5-star Dylan Raiola. They need somebody in the interim as well to continue to build up that room. So Ryan Day watched Austin Novosad, also had him competing against Jax Leatherwood, a quarterback committed to Nevada, and basically had those two guys going head to head. And they saw enough from Novosad to go ahead and make the offer. And now we kind of just wait to see if he's going to commit. And the thing to keep in mind is he's a Texas kid, paid his own way to come to Ohio State's camp, trying to earn an offer. So it's an expensive collection if you're just trying to collect offers.
I thought he looked really good. I mean, you're right. He did pay his own way to come here, and quite honestly, he Austin and Jax had about 10, 15 minutes of real, 2-on-1 time with Ryan Day and Corey Dennis. I mean, they still went through the full camp. It wasn't like, oh, warm you up and bring you in here and, get out. But, I think that Novosad was a little bit further ahead of Leatherwood in terms of where he is as a quarterback. I had a chance to talk to Leatherwood, not Novosad, after the game, and even Leatherwood said that, when you looked at Austin, his footwork was great. I mean, he threw a good ball, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Leatherwood's like, I'm still kind of working on that. Austin Novosad 6'3", whereas Jax Leatherwood is 6'6", 6'7". So, I think that it's a situation of where he certainly is on commit watch. I don't think that it's a case of he just goes and just immediately flips at this point. He goes to Ohio State, gets an offer. I mean, he could probably go to a couple other schools and go get some offers at this point. It isn't like that he's a completely unheralded kid with no track record. Baylor's been able to do a thing or two with some quarterbacks. Granted, Charlie Brewer leaves, goes to Utah. That transfer does not work out as he ends up giving way to Cam Rising. So, give him a chance. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I would rather Austin Novosad take a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, really come to an unemotional decision and go from there. Because if a kid gets caught up in the moment of being at the camp and flips there, what's to keep him from flipping again if Texas or Oklahoma or A&M or somebody comes knocking in December?
Kevin, this is what I would ask. Are you guys picking me up, by the way? Can you hear me?
We got you good.
Okay. Dripping Springs, I know you spent time in the state of Texas. Do you have any idea where in the heck Dripping Springs is? What quadrant of the state? Because that's a new one on me. Austin area. Okay, I'd never heard of that. I do like Novosad. I think he would obviously be coming in with eyes wide open, knowing that Ohio State has Stroud, and Ohio State, Stroud would be gone obviously next year, but they have McCord is there, and also the freshman from this past year, whose name I am airmailing, Devin Brown, yes. So he would come in eyes wide open, knowing he's the next guy in line after those guys, and with the prospect that Raiola would be coming in a year later. So if he doesn't reclassify and come in 23, which is all the rage, I guess, these days. So I guess I liked what I saw with him. Good footwork. To me, they're going to have 5 more of these camps, and I just wonder, will there be more quarterbacks who come through, kind of trip the cord with Ryan Day, and he says out of, I wouldn't even say desperation, but out of need, is he going to make another offer or two, as there's 5 more of these camps. And that's what kind of got me, was 7 offers out of the first one. I don't know if this one was front-loaded, heavy-loaded, because it was the first one and kids wanted to get in and make the first impression, but 7 seems like a lot when you've got 5 more of these days and you don't have a ton of scholarship spots. But I guess with the portal, spots open and, all the time now. So I guess you take it, as we saw this past year, an extra 4 or 5 signees and don't care about the over-signing rules if there are any anymore, because, with regular attrition, you're going to be back right around 85 or 84 by the time the season starts. So to me, very intrigued by what I saw. And again, excited for that one. Got me exhilarated for the next 5 of these, because if there's that much news coming out of each one of these, it's going to be a lot of fun here for the rest of this month.
Well, let's not forget too that some of these offers were for 24s as well, and we're really, there were only 2 takes on the 24 board right now, or at least going into the camps, and they have taken one of them with Dylan Riola, and then the other one's Jeremiah J.J. Smith out of South Florida. So this is really a chance for them to start extending some 24 offers. I think the thing that stood out to me, though, was that a lot of these 24 offers were in-state kids. And as I said on a podcast that aired this morning, that when it comes to an in-state kid, you better be darn ready to take that kid at that point, because if you sit there and say you're offered, and before the D even comes out of offered, and the kid says, I'm in, you better be ready to take them, because if a kid's coming out of Springfield or a kid's coming out of Winton Woods or wherever, and you're like, whoa, I was kidding. Let's slow this down. You could really set yourself back in recruiting that school for, quite some time. So that was the thing that really stood out to me. But you're right. There were a good amount of offers there, but I think that there's still a little bit of measure of playing catch up from COVID. But yeah.
The 2024, there are 4 offers from the 2024 class. As Kevin said, 3 from Ohio. One, maybe the most surprising, is the Indiana kid, Mylan Graham. And again, if you're going to offer an Indiana kid, it's not entirely different than offering an Ohio kid. You might want to be ready to accept that commitment. He's a unranked wide receiver, 2024. As I said, this was his first FBS offer, and it comes from Brian Hartline and Ohio State, who have been able to go get not necessarily whoever they want, but a large pick of who they want at receiver nationally. And to then see this kid show up and be like, nobody else has offered him, doesn't matter, we'll go ahead and throw out an offer right now. So I think that one was surprising to me. I wonder how surprising it was to him. And it's just interesting. And as I said on Buckeye Weekly just a little bit ago that we're going to drop today, I am now interested to see what his rankings do at this point, and what is the starting point for the first time you show up in the rankings is because Brian Hartline has offered you.
And we know that offers create new offers. So they're going to be 15 copycat offers, because they're going to say, well, if Brian Hartline likes this guy and we can sit there and see what his track record has been, maybe we need to take a second and third look at this kid. And I think that there's just going to be some schools that are just going to offer just to remain in the game at this point, because you have to. I always laugh when I see a kid who is a top 25 national kid and has 54 offers, and that 55th offer that comes in 3 months before the signing period is like Western Michigan. Where the hell have you been? You're Western Michigan. You need to be first, not last.
The 5-star kids who are, I'm blessed to receive an offer from Northern Illinois.
There were several players who did receive offers, several players who did not. I think Jalen Thompson, a defensive end from Detroit Cass Tech, 2023 kid, got an offer. He's like a national top 200 type kid, so that made some sense to me. Very interested to see Tyler Atkinson, a kid from Georgia, defensive end, and he was there. I think his high school is Grayson, Grayson High School in Georgia, and he's a 2026 kid. He already has an offer, hasn't played a down of football at the high school level, but it's obvious I had a picture of him just darting around a guy like he was standing still. I don't know. It's hard to project where somebody's going to be 4 years from now, but it seems like he's a pretty good player. I don't know. Elias Rudolph, defensive end from Taft High School, another intriguing athlete, said he wanted to break all of Adolphus Washington's records at Taft. So we'll see how that quest works out for him. So those were some of the guys. I agree. I was surprised with the wide receiver out of Indiana getting the offer. Tight end was interesting. They had a kid there, Jackson Mcgohan of Miamisburg, a 2023 kid. I think he's committed to Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken. Is that? And I'm going to tell you what, this kid looks like a stud standing there. Kevin Wilson worked with him. I'm surprised he didn't get an offer. I'm not sure what was going on there. Tavion Galloway from Chillicothe, a 2024 kid, was there as well. And he may be a guy that they watch this fall because he's actually moving up a level in high school from Uniota High School, which is where, coincidentally, Ben Hartsock 2 decades ago came from Unioto High School, which is a school in a league, the Scioto Valley Conference, that I covered when I was at Circleville playing against Westfall there. That school did. But Galloway, that's like Division 6, 5, 6 football in Ohio. He's gone up now to Chillicothe, which is, I think, Division 2 or Division 3 right now. So a little better brand of football for him. They'll be playing in the same league with Washington Courthouse, Miami Trace, Jackson, some other schools like that. So some schools that people have actually heard of around the state of Ohio. So I wonder if they want to watch him play this year, because the way that Mark Porter, who works with us at Scouting Ohio, talked about it, very skilled guy who could catch a lot of balls against the lesser opponents, but really has had zero, and I mean zero, experience having to block against anybody close to his size at that level of football. So we'll see at Chillicothe how that side of his game is developed, because if you can't block, you can't play, and that's kind of the thing there. But those are, in a nutshell, some of the other guys I saw. It got so hot, and I was wearing a black shirt, and I know Kevin and a lot of the other guys were there before I got there. They were there after I left, but I wasn't in shape for that yesterday. It was about 95 degrees on the turf, and I even drinking water wasn't enough for me. I had to get the heck out of there, so I bugged out.
Yeah, it was quite warm, and then we had a torrential downpour where the rain was coming down sideways and every which way but loose, and several people are like, I've never seen it rain this hard in Columbus before. I mean, it was terrible, and then it stopped, and then the heat came out, and it was just hotter. But I was like Steve in terms of, I really was interested in watching the tight ends, and there's just kind of this weird situation because we're drawn to watching the tight ends, and the role of the tight end in the Ohio State offense has been participant. I mean, that's just kind of it. I mean, Jeremy Ruckert, I'm
blocker,
going to have a tremendous NFL career, and poor guy couldn't get 40 catches in a season, certainly at Ohio State. So we spend all this time watching tight end when it's not necessarily this huge focal point, but they're looking to take 2. You have Ty Lockwood already committed in this class. They certainly would like to take a second one, but they have the benefit of having a tight end already in the class. They need to do their due diligence and make sure that they make the right offer. And that's not to sit there and say that, a top 5 national tight end is going to be like, I can't wait to go to Ohio State and block. But, you better be ready when you do this, because, that's a position that, these guys are still growing. They're still developing. I mean, I think Ohio State would love to be able to make it into the start of all these guys' senior seasons, get 3 games of film and see what they see there, as opposed to making camp offers. But I think they're able to kind of slow things down a little bit and wait and see. And, you might miss out on the guy because of it. You might miss out like on a Mcgohan or somebody like that. But, you run that risk to make sure that you're making the right decision.
2 quick things before we may want to get to Yakov and the super chat. Roger, the turf is not going in yet. They're still ripping the old turf out. So now in the WAC, you guys saw it, right, Kevin? It looked beautiful.
Yeah, it was on yes, they changed the one on the indoor. It looked very nice. You don't get the overhead view. We're not going up to the catwalks to see it from top down or anything, but it was in, it was nice. It was nice to be inside at some points because it was just so awful hot outside. But I have a feeling the one going into the stadium, which should be done in about a month or so, is gonna look really good. And I won't have to listen to people complaining about the pink end zones at Ohio State for what's the expected life of a rug now? 8 years or something like that. So for at least 6 years, we should be square.
I also wanted to address Willie's question about Jermaine Matthews getting the offer, 3-star corner out of Winton Woods, who 2023 kid. And yeah, you look at the 3-star and you immediately bristle, but camp offers are guys who perform in front of the coaches, and they're it's a tradition every year. Like, this is where you get some of your best guys, is these camp offers where they're fighting for offers and fighting to be seen. They impress, they get seen, they get offered. Ran a 4.35, decent size, 6 foot. The other factor here is Ohio State needs corners, and they've missed out on the top guys in the nation. Coaching change didn't help that. And so you're trying to build relationships. I'm assuming Jermaine Matthews has had a relationship with Perry Eliano, and so there's been that going on. But yeah, you need them. And if you've got one in state that is good enough to play, you might want to try to get them locked up as quickly as possible and then move on to the rest of the nation. But like I said, they've missed out on the top guys. So now you've got other guys like Sharif Denson, I think is one guy. Kayan Lee from Georgia is another guy. And they need a bunch. They need as many defensive backs as they can get annually because they play so many, and they're only going to play more with Jim Knowles.
Right. I expect, maybe up to 5 safeties in this class, but they're going to need to take some corners. And Jermaine Matthews may be rated as a 3-star, but I've been doing this a long time. And you can't necessarily put it all on one camp outing, but he didn't look like a 3-star to me out there. He had a tremendous go. I don't think there was a single recruiting reporter that was there that was surprised that he got an offer. He's still shooting for a July 4th decision. So I think that this one is trending very well for Ohio State.